Today we're going to go into a lot of offer stuff. Basically, Mike Urso, who's here in the call right now, brought up towards the end of the call, diving into some offer stuff with him and his offer. So we're going to go ahead and tackle some of that information and dive into just the different aspects of an offer and dive into Mike's specific offer and how we can really optimize for high conversion. So when we think about an offer, I want to really dial in a few different things with this. So let's go ahead and get into offer in general. So I want to think about a few things with offer, right? We want to think about diminishing time delay and diminishing effort when we think about our offer, right? So when we think about time delay, essentially what that's stating is the time it takes to get results within a program, right? So Mike, with specifically your offer, I think that one of the things we did with Joe recently, me and Joe kind of brainstormed around an NLP offer, and we're able to come up with a pretty solid offer in general in terms of value and time distribution. And when we think about a lot of what we do can drive some pretty quick results, especially in the personal transformation space. And when we think about like NLP, it has a pretty direct result in terms of, like being able to solve for a specific problem in a short amount of time, right? So what I say with something like this is decreasing time delay, decreasing the perceived time it takes to get results, and decreasing the amount of effort and sacrifice it takes to get those results. With NLP, we can think about something like, if we can really guarantee results, right? And that's why I think it's so important to have a guarantee in the coaching space, is because if you're not able to really stand behind your work and say, hey, look, like if you don't get the transformation that you want in X amount of days, I'll give you every dollar back. If you don't have that type of guarantee in the coaching space, it can be very hard to close coaching clients because, they convince themselves they don't need it because there's risk, I have to do all this work. I have to try and make all this transformation happen. And like, they start to create all these stories in their head around the fact that this is going to be hard to accomplish. And therefore, there's no guarantee. I don't know if this will even work, right? There's all these different thought processes around the offer, especially when it's NLP or spiritual coaching. Like, people don't really know what is on the other side of that type of offer, right? So like what ultimately ends up happening, and I posted a little bit about this on Instagram yesterday, is like, when we think about selling somebody the end result of the program, like we definitely want to paint that vision as to what it can look like on the other side of the program. But at the end of the day, these people, they're in pain, and we need to meet them where they're at in that pain point. So the pain is going to drive the change of them purchasing. However, if we speak to just the transformation, they might lose some context there of the fact that this is for them. So when we think about the offer, when we're presenting our offer in front of a potential prospect, they're going to be iffy about the offer without a doubt, because it is intangible, right? When we think about a lot of the transformation that we provide in the coaching space, it's an intangible result. It's not like they pay an invoice and they get a product, or they pay an invoice and they get like this thing that they can hold in their hand. It's something where, one, it is going to take effort, and two, they need to commit, and three, it's going to be something that is really, in for lack of a better words, it's a feeling transformation more than anything, right? They're going to feel it. They're not going to be able to, they're going to feel it within them. They're not going to be able to hold it and touch it and feel it, right? So with that being said, it becomes increasingly important for us to stand behind a hard guarantee with our offer, because they're already going to have that type of perception around it where it's like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work for me. I don't really know too much about this, especially when we're talking about spiritual practices and NLP, which both of you guys are in those two spaces. It's like people don't have a hard understanding as to what this might be. Like, a lot of people don't, but they know they want to achieve X result. They know that they're in pain. And if you can convince them that your mechanism is going to help them get from the pain to the end result, and that you can guarantee it, and that you stand behind your work, your offer is going to close at a high level, specifically because a lot of coaches won't do that. A lot of coaches, they start to say, well, it does take a lot of effort for the client, so how am I supposed to guarantee it? Because they need to meet me halfway, right? But understand that part of holding people accountable to your program is your job as a coach. So as long as you're showing up every day and holding people accountable and doing what you can do, if they're not meeting you halfway, that's on them, but that can be a conversation further down the road. When we think about a guarantee, let's say we have, a hard guarantee of, money back guarantee, no questions asked, like X amount of time. Maybe it's a 30-day money back guarantee. If you feel like you didn't get X result or you didn't feel X way in 30 days, I'll give you every dollar you spent back. Let's say that that's the guarantee. If we increase, let's say we increase our sales by 30% after adding that guarantee, and let's say that our refunds increase by 10%, we still had a 20% increase of sales that suffices for that guarantee, right? So what we have to think about when we're presenting an offer in the coaching space, no matter what it is our guarantee. Our guarantee is going to convince somebody. If we can stand in confidence and certainty and tell somebody, look somebody in the face and say, I am going to help you create this transformation in the next 90 days or 30 days, whatever the case may be. And if you feel that you haven't got that transformation at the end, I'll give you every single dollar back. It becomes very hard for that person to say no, especially if you effectively communicated the pain and you had them really understand where they're at and where you can help them get to. So when we talk about offer in terms of, like what's included in the offer, that's where we want to think a little bit different. But when we think about like the true essence of what's going to get a high conversion rate in our offer, it's going to be two things, like effectively communicating and understanding the pain that this person is experiencing, being able to frame your offer in a way that specifically solves that pain, and having a guarantee attached to that. If we can have these people understand, like have a realization moment on a sales call of the pain that they're experiencing, and we can effectively communicate the fact that our mechanism helps them achieve X result and effectively help them understand that, they are already sold. But the problem becomes is people think about, is this for me? Is this going to work for me? Right? So that's where the guarantee is necessary, is with the is this going to work for me type of mentality. If you can stand there and say it is going to work with you, it's worked with dozens of other clients that I've worked with, there's no reason it won't work for you. And I'll add 100% money back guarantee for 30 days, whatever the case may be. It becomes hard for that person to say no at that point. So when we think about an offer, right, like a lot of times we think about the features. We think about having a course. We think about having our calls. We think about having, text access and like all these things. That's really not your, like, that's the features of your offer, like that. And it stops there. Like what really matters is being able to understand somebody's pain and being able to effectively communicate the fact that your offer solves that pain. If you can do that, they won't even care what the features are. They won't care if it's a course. They won't care if you're doing one-on-one coaching calls or group coaching calls. They won't care about any of that if they 100% understand and have confidence and certainty in the fact that you're the one that can help them solve the pain that they're experiencing. The features don't matter, right? So what we want to think about with your specific offer, Mike, to start to transition this into like to kind of talking about that directly, is like with NLP, there's a small window, right? Like it doesn't take much time to get results with NLP because it's subconscious. Like a lot of even like spiritual work is very much like this as well. So thinking about both those types of offers, is there a way that we can diminish the amount of perceived time it takes to get results, right? When we think about like an NLP offer, what me and Joe did when we brainstormed on his offer was we cut his offer from a 90-day program to a 30-day program. Why? Because we think that in 4 sessions, we can effectively provide the results that are well worth the amount of money that we price tagged it at. So when we think about NLP, if we can shorten the amount of time, the window of the program, so that we can effectively communicate on a call and say, once we understand their pain, we say, hey, look, I totally understand, this is why I've built this program, this mechanism that can help you get to X. And, a lot of programs out there, they're going to do it in 90 days, 100 days, half a year, 6 months. We're going to do it in 30 days, right? Now it diminishes the amount of time it takes to get results. So with NLP specifically, that's what I'd like you to think about, Mike, is diminishing the amount of time of the program because of the results they can get. Now, obviously, the first thing you're going to think when I say that is well, what if people need more, right? What if people need more time? Some people will need more time. However, in an NLP setting, if you're working with one-on-one clients, they can just renew the program for another 30 days, right? So doing something where with an NLP program, it's like a 30-day container, 30-day program. So it's a month program. You do one-on-one NLP session per week. And then there's some sort of consistent customer service aspect of it, like text access to you, whatever the case may be, like Slack channel, whatever makes the most sense for you. If you have those two things combined, you can easily charge a minimum of 1,000 for a 30-day program at that point. And that's what Joe was able to close last week or this past weekend. Was he closed a client on 4 30-minute NLP sessions for a month at $1,000 for that price point. So effectively, he's getting paid $500 an hour for those NLP sessions. So what really made the change for Joe in that circumstance to get that deal closed was that he did offer a money-back guarantee. So with his confidence and certainty in that program and being able to effectively communicate, I can help you solve this pain in 30 days, 100%, or your money back, he was able to get that deal closed. Now, me and you both know, Mike, that NLP is a lot of what we do in general. I'm speaking to NLP just because this is your offer, but a lot of what we do in the coaching space in regards to life coaching, spiritual coaching, NLP, all that type of stuff, they might not have immediate life-changing results. It's not like you do one coaching session and this person's off to the races and they don't need you anymore. But one hour session with you as a coach, whether it's you, Roxanne, or whether it's you, Mike, one hour session with you is incredibly impactful to the point where they're not even going to think about that money back guarantee. They're going to appreciate what you bring to the table. They're going to understand the value that you have, and they're not going to worry about any sort of money back guarantee from there. So, that's what I kind of wanted to jam on with you, Mike, in regards to your offer is one, I think that would be a really solid offer to run with you too, is doing a 30-day container where you can effectively communicate, hey, look, we're not going to do this in 6 months. We're going to do this in 1 month. So let's do one session every week. We'll do direct one-on-one powerful subconscious healing work. And by the end of this program, you will achieve X result. And by the way, guys, with the work that we do, that X result usually changes depending on the client, right? So if a client is, wanting to get rid of procrastination, that becomes the end result. The end result, you want to speak that end result to what that person wants. So oh, I want to quit cigarettes, right? Because I know NLP has that type of effect to be able to get rid of that stuff too. It's oh, I want to create cigarettes, or I want to create cigarettes. I want to quit cigarettes. It's all right, cool. Well, let's do this in 30 days and effectively communicate that that's the end result, and then have a money back guarantee, have that type of confidence and certainty. And I promise you will close a lot of deals. And whether you end up having to give refunds or not, the amount that your sales will increase due to the confidence and certainty of that guarantee, it'll suffice for any sort of increase in refund. But knowing both of you and having conversations with Roxanne and you, Mike, I know that you guys bring a ton of value to the table. I don't see refunds ever being a problem with the service that you provide, So that's what I'd say to you, Mike, is when we think about the offer in general, we don't have to create like, we don't have to make it this overwhelming process of creating different benefit or different features, right? Having a course and having this and having that. Like, we can simplify by understanding the fact that we can provide direct results. Like, without a doubt, Mike, like 4 NLP sessions with you is 100% worth $1,000, if not more, you know? So starting at that type of frame and then potentially increasing price as time goes on and your time becomes a little bit more restrictive could be a really solid route to go. And then, you know, like, you can step into the group stuff for sure. Like, I would definitely say like group offer is more scalable than this type of framework, but this is a really great place to start for you to get like consistent online clientele to the point where you can make that shift into group. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yes, 100%. And it's interesting. I was on a coach's call with Julian and Bardia today for Woo, and we were talking about how much faster we've been, just because I've gotten so many reps coaching with the Brotherhood, that I've been able to get amazing results in 30 minutes with a lot of people. And so I do believe that, like, what the offer Joe's running, I can absolutely run, and it could be absolutely effective, especially at that price point. I would just say that my onboarding process would have to just be a little bit more robust and solid in order to get the proper information, so that if the sessions are shorter like that, I really can jump right in and start attacking the issue and the root of everything, because there is a little bit of a rapport building, feeling out process sometimes in that first 60-minute session. And then the second session is really where the heavy hitting comes in. That's where we go deep. There's re-imprinting. There's, you know, some really deep work going on. And so absolutely believe that that I can do that. I would just have to maybe put a little systems in place and processes to just like a type form or something that would get the information I need beforehand. I already have questions and stuff built out for that, so that would be easy.
Perfect.
But does that make sense? Like, you know,
Yeah.
for me to do something like that?
Yeah, for sure. And like, that's key for like, I would say across the board. Anybody that's watching this video, whether you're on here right now or whether you're watching a recording, is like, it's key to have a in-depth onboarding process to minimize the amount of time that is spent in that process. You know, like, of course you want to build rapport one-on-one with a client, and you don't want it to just be like a form and jump straight into the work. But what I would also say is, like, you know, we can potentially like play around with that time frame, you know, like whether it's, you know, the first couple clients you want to do an hour session per week, or whether, you know, you tell them it's a 30-minute session, but you under promise and over deliver and you end up making it a 45-minute session, or whatever the case may be. There's little tweaks we can do with that. But yeah, I mean, to your point, definitely having a streamlined onboarding process to get all the information that you need on the front end will be huge in that game. But I think it's a really strong offer. What I would also say with it is, like, NLP can be used for so many different things that I would really think about, like, what is that, like, that true end goal that you want to work with, and that you could feel comfortable working with that, like, for the next year ongoing with a bunch of clients. You know, like, what is that, like, one thing that just brings you a lot of passion to work with people on, whether it's procrastination, performance, like, whether it's healing, whether it's, you know, quitting an addiction. Like, I would do some thinking on that, like what resonates the most with you, so that you can effectively target those people who could potentially be struggling with that problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I do love the generative work you're talking about, like the performance-based stuff, making somebody better in what they're already doing. But really where my heart's at is in the remedial work, which is fixing pains, you know, fixing traumas, fixing those things that people have been, I don't want to say fixing, but healing is the better word. Healing some past wounds. You know, I find that to be the most fulfilling work that I do, and also the one that leaves the client with the most impact, where it's not as tangible as you said in the very beginning here, that stuff, but what is tangible is, and palpable, is the energy that they leave that session with, and how they move lighter through their life after that. That's the stuff I experience in my sessions on a daily basis with clients after they've gone through a deep deep session where we've done some root cause work, and it's absolutely the most fulfilling work. So finding a way to create a tangible solution, I guess, to frame it and present the offer is what I'll have to just think about and work on.
Yeah, I think to that point, right? It's like a feeling is so much more powerful than an object, right? So like we might buy, I don't know why a banana was the first thing that came to my mind, but like we might buy like an object. Let's say it's a banana. Like it's a one-time use. We don't even think about it. We buy it, we eat it. Like, yeah, it's not a lot of money, but it doesn't provide much of an impact other than maybe like solving a little bit of hunger in that moment and giving us some, I don't know, what is it, potassium that's in bananas. But but after that, right, there's not really much of that underlying effect of it. Whereas like even though what you both provide is intangible, there is a tangible feeling and a tangible energy that is created from that type of work. So, you know, I would say it's not even so much of selling like something tangible or making that transformation tangible. It's more so about like really digging deep into the pain and being able to discover what the pain that person's experiencing is, and then just being able to effectively and confidently and certainly like communicate to them the fact that like your mechanism will solve for that pain, you know?
Yeah, I think tangible is maybe not the right word. Maybe I would use the word measurable. And what I mean by that is like, let's say happiness is an intangible thing, but happiness is measurable because you can enter in and say, your initial questions for outcome of how do you know you're happy? What would your life look like? How will you feel when you're happy? Then it becomes very measurable with that person you're working with, right? You know where they're starting, you know what their level of happiness is based on their life, based on where their focus is, but getting a measurement from them of, well, what would be happiness for you? How would you know when you're happy and you've reached that level of happiness that we could obtain through these sessions? And then now we have a very measurable thing that we can put a guarantee on because they've given you the exact reason of, well, this is how I would feel if I was happy. Now we could measure that. And it is still intangible, but it's measurable.
100%, without a doubt. And one thing I'll say, Mike, is me and Mike recently rebuilt the entire automated coaching engine course. So one thing I'd have you get an eye on is go into that course. All the information in there is super valuable now. It's less than 4 hours of content. So like you can literally block off an hour for 4 days and go through every video in the program. We tried to make it like very manageable to get through. But we have one video that's the 10-minute call script and one video that's the 60-minute call script. So I actually gave away like scripts that you guys can implement with your offers. And part of those discovery questions of the 60-minute script is getting a lot of that information that you just mentioned. Like, you know, it's going through a different question set to be able to go through like present questions, like, you know, opportunity questions, like different themed question sets. But one of the questions we ask is like, what would success look like to you? Like what, and in regards to what they're already talking about, right? So it's like, if someone's saying, you know, I have anxiety and I'm just not happy, I feel super depressed. It's like, all right, well, like with that frame in mind, what would success look like to you out of, you know, going through this transformation? Like, what does the other side look like to you? So then by finding out that answer, you're able to frame that answer as the end result of the program. Instead of having to get into the features and all the benefits and like, and not really the benefits, but instead of having to get in the features of like the course, the Slack channel, the this, the that, it's really just like effectively communicating the fact that your mechanism takes them to the end result that they just said was success in their eyes, you know? So I definitely recommend to check out that video. It's called like the 60-minute call script on in the sales section of the new automated coaching engine course. Let me know if you have trouble accessing it. Happy to help out, but there's a good set of questions that you can run people through to get a ton of information to the point where you really won't even have to explain what the day-to-day details of your program are. It's just selling the pain and selling the transformation attached to it, you know?
Awesome. Yeah, I wrote that down. I'll take a look at those. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because, like I've noticed this, right? And this is like in general, when it comes to offers, what happens when we get into a feature-based selling. So when we get into like, okay, so here's what's involved in the program and here's this, like we used to do, and some of you even like came through the sales process, but we just noticed that like we could have been closing at a higher rate. So previous, you both might have gone through the sales process of like us presenting our sales presentation and like our whole process. And it closed pretty well. Like it didn't do bad. We got a lot of people in the program off it. But what I realized was that we were losing a lot of deals because people were making like analytical, logical decisions instead of emotion-based decisions. So what happened was it would always end in, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. And why'd they want to think about it? Because they just got thrown a ton of information. None of it was anything that they knew prior. So they're overwhelmed. And they're overwhelmed with all these different strategies that we were talking about. Then we shifted to doing our first call over the phone and having it basically just be find out the pain and sell the pain. Like sell the transformation of getting out of that pain and what the end result looks like and what their definition of success is, and being able to effectively communicate that. And it's been like day and night with the calls and how they've gone because of that structure, because of the fact that we're not triggering the analytical mind as much. We're triggering the emotional being that is currently in a state of confusion, pain, frustration. And we're communicating the fact that our mechanism, our system will help them achieve the success that they just said is what they're looking for, So we're barely even really touching on a lot of the process anymore. Like we don't really talk about like, oh, this is how we do lead generation. This is how we do that. Like we do mention like, this is what you're going to get out of the program, but we focus on selling their idea of success and solving the pain that they're experiencing as opposed to like selling the strategy,
Like just from personal experience, Mike, from when I guess I onboarded to the coaching engine, honestly, what sold me was the webinar of how you went and generated the leads. And that's why I wanted to work with you guys. So I think that structure was very actually important for me to know.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think everybody's different, like some people like lean towards logical decision making,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's one of those things where it can be effective to do it that way. One of our biggest pivots was the fact that like we, this offer is turning into much more than just like a lead gen system. So we've kind of like altered the sales process to be more open-minded around like the coaching side of it too. But yeah, I appreciate the feedback because that's definitely something that is good to know in general.
Yeah. And what really swayed me was the money back guarantee.
Yeah.
Because then you stood behind your product and that made it very tangible for me to invest.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really the thing is like, first off, like if we're coaching, we have to, you know what I mean? Like if we're coaching and we're giving information, we have to believe in the information that we're giving. So therefore, like the guarantee is a huge piece that I think a lot of people miss out on. And a lot of people take sales calls in the coaching space and they're like, why aren't I closing these deals? What's happening? What's the disconnect? Maybe it's my offer. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. When in reality, like 9 times out of 10, it's just the fact that they didn't know if it was for them, especially like specialized, areas of expertise that not everybody knows, like NLP or spiritual coaching, and the work that you do, Roxanne, is like a lot of people might not be fully educated to the point where they're like, oh, I don't really know if this is for me,
Mm-hmm.
So being able to like have that guarantee and that confidence behind it will get someone to pull the trigger. But what we want to think about in general when we're thinking about an offer is that like a lot of what I wanted to get on and talk about today was just the fact that a lot of times when we think about offer, it's like all the all the features that are involved in the offer, as opposed to how we get our offer to convert, you know? So thinking about those different aspects of the guarantee, how do we decrease the perceived time it takes to get results? So if we can effectively communicate or at least show somebody progress, you know, somebody will have an understanding of those results. Like for instance, with you, Roxanne, I know your programs are like 12 to 16 weeks. Like you might want to just effectively communicate what like the checkpoints of the transformation could be, you know?
Can you kind of like just a little bit of a sample of like what you're envisioning?
Yeah. So in regards to like being able to effectively communicate, if it's a 90-day program, right? It's almost like progress along the way, right? So like by day 30, this is typically the type of result that you could expect. Right. By day 60, this is typically the type of result you could expect, you know? That way there's like tangible checkpoints of what that person could expect along the way, so that they're not thinking like this, which it's not a bad thing at all. Like our program's a 90-day program that turns into longer if people want to stay with us. But so I'm not against 90-day programs by any means, but it's about like effectively communicating what the checkpoints will look like along the way, so that they understand, instead of thinking like, oh, it's going to take 90 days for this to happen. It's like, oh, by day 30, I can potentially expect this result. And then by day 60, I can be potentially here, you know, just being able to show them that there is improvements along the way of this journey to the end result. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. So would I guess, in essence, would I include this into my webinar?
Yeah, I think it could be good to add into there. What the big thing we want to think about with the webinar too, and I think I failed to mention this yesterday, but with the webinar, you don't want to be so like, you don't want to be offer based in a sense. You want to be more so of call, like you want to sell the call, not the offer. Does that make sense? So you don't want to get into like too much of the nitty gritty of the program or like any details of the program. It's more so of, you want to be pain focused, experience focused. Like I know you want to provide that type of experience through the video. So having that experience and then having it be very pain based, that leads to, this is why you should be on a call with me right now, you know? And then the call sells the program. So you want to have the webinar sell the call sell the program.
Gotcha.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, there's like literally hours and hours I could jam on offer. So sometimes I get lost in all the aspects of it, and I'm probably going to do a lot of trainings around the offer in general, because it's a huge piece of this entire puzzle, is having like an effective offer and being able to communicate it in a way that people understand it's what they need. So we'll continue to do some work on this, but I did want to like open up some time for Q&A to be able to help you guys if you guys need anything. So Roxanne, Mike, do you guys have any questions with anything, not just offer based, but anything you need in the program or anything like that?
For me, Mike, I mean, I'm in good shape right now. So where I'm at is I'm in the webinar funnel builder and just basically putting that up. I guess a question would be, I don't have video testimonials to drop in that. And so if I do have like, I have a lot of like screenshots of like messages or, you know, those types of things, text messages I've got, or things from Woo, for example, stuff like that, where people have direct experience with me and have had breakthroughs and things like that, where they've spoke about it, talked about how it's helped them. Would those be things I can pop in there as opposed to a video? Would you recommend doing that at the least?
Yeah. At the least, I would definitely do that, is use like screenshots of conversations. Those are still effective. I would like see if you could potentially get some video ones, because those are long-term a little bit more leverageable. So like I would see if you could get some, but you can 100% use text testimonials just as well as video. Video is just like more beneficial in the long term.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I will get on that today and just ask out to a couple people who I know would be great candidates for that, who can give a really good word. So. And
Yeah.
just what do you think? 30, 60 seconds, something around that time frame, something brief.
Yeah, exactly. Something brief, like 30 to 60 seconds. Usually what you want for kind of like a frame is, obviously like a quick introduction of who they are, what they do, just to have it tangible. And then go from like where they were at before working with you, where they're at now after working with you. And then, that's really it, honestly. Just like introduction before and after type of testimonial is effective.
Cool. All right. That's simple. I'm going to get on that now and get that uploaded so we can get going next week.
Perfect. Awesome, man. Awesome. That sounds great to me. And let us know when everything's completed, because in regards to like design or anything like that with the funnel, Aaron can get in there and tweak it and play with it. Yeah,
cool. Aaron was very helpful on Wednesday morning, got all the integration set up, domain, everything set up. So yeah, it's really just me and I'm here doing it today. So hopefully this will be wrapped up by tomorrow, and then we'll get going. So I'll definitely update you, whether it's just a small message in Telegram every day, just where I'm at with things.
Perfect.
It's just good for accountability too,
Yeah, of course. Sounds good, man.
Sorry, Mike, I just have a quick question. So right now I've been building my webinar through Canva, but should I not be building it there?
We actually, our sales presentation is in Canva, so Canva's fine. You could do like a Loom video, or I don't know if Canva does video recording, but
yeah, it does.
Oh, it does? Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then Canva's cool.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Any other questions for before we close out, or everybody good to go?
No, good to go, Mike. Just want to thank you. Today was very helpful. So thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Happy to help. Of course. If you guys need anything, let me know. Everybody enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll catch you tomorrow if you guys are around.